Royals baseball comes to you today from beautiful Surprise Stadium. We have blue skies, full sunshine, and green grass. And a matchup today from the last two American League champions, the Cleveland Indians and the Royals. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the ballpark with Royals Hall of Famer Jeff Montgomery. I'm Ryan Lefevre. We're about 2.5 weeks away from opening day. And Monty, this is really kind of a transition part of spring training, isn't it?
Well, it really is. This is a time when guys who are competing for jobs really have to turn it up a notch. You get ready for the season. You do certain things in spring training camp to get ready, but now there are some jobs on the line.
Yeah, and not a lot of competition with the Royals this year in spring training. Second base, obviously, and the fifth spot in the starting rotation. Nathan Carnes pitched yesterday at Milwaukee. The other two who are competing for that fifth spot are both going to pitch today.
Yeah, we're going to see Travis Wood start this game at lefty, pitch exclusively in relief last year for the Cubs, acquired in a 2-year deal with the Royals, and then later in the game we're going to have a chance to see Chris Young, a guy that the Royals fans certainly are very, very familiar with.
And then second base, we're talking about 4 guys who are still competing for the starting position, and 3 of the 4 guys are going to be in some part of the lineup today.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out with regards to second base. Not as much experience at second base as you would maybe like to have, but a lot of talent. Should be a heated battle to the end.
And more complicated at second base because now you're dealing with options and players that you can't just simply send to the minor leagues.
Right, absolutely. Certain guys come to camp, they're really kind of locked in with regards to those options. They can't get sent out without maybe being picked up by another team, and the Royals are maybe going to be in that situation with a few of those guys competing at second base.
It's going to be a hot day today, even for Arizona. It's spring break back in Kansas City, so Royals fans are making their way to the desert. And we'll have the lineups and the first pitch coming up next. We are ready to go. First pitch from Travis Wood is a little bit inside to Eric Gonzalez. The Indians are playing a split squad game today. Most of their regulars are in San Antonio taking on the Rangers. The Royals played a 2-game series with the Rangers in San Antonio last year. So Travis Wood, Chris Young, and whomever afterward will be facing very few, if any, big league hitters today.
Well, Ryan, I will say this. This is not the defending American League champion Cleveland Indians we expected to see.
No, it is not. 3-0 on Gonzalez, playing shortstop. Of course, for the Indians, that position is filled for a long time with Francisco Lindor, but Gonzalez has a chance to perhaps be the Indians' second baseman opening day, because Jason Kipnis, their regular second baseman, is dealing with some shoulder discomfort. So a chance for him to impress the coaching staff. And that's hit well into right center field. And Kane, looking up into the bright sunlight, turns away at the last moment and makes the play on Gonzalez. So you mentioned, Monty, Travis Wood last year, every appearance out of the bullpen for the world champion Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, and he's versatile. He can do a little bit of everything. He's been a starter during the course of his career. Not an overpowering lefty, not going to top 90 very frequently, but he's got a mix of quality pitches. So I think that's really what makes him valuable and why he's in consideration for that fifth spot.
This is Todd Henkins, and that's fouled away into the seats off the left field side. You can always tell the difference between a minor league player and a big league player in spring training. The minor leaguers have to wear the double flapped helmets. So Henkins is up from minor league camp, and that is bounce foul. No balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, and this time of year, once there's a certain date, a lot of players who are on the 40-man roster who are sent down, they cannot come back up and play in these big league spring training games. Otherwise, if they were to be injured, they would be set on that major league disabled list. So as a result, you're going to see a lot of guys in this game for both teams who maybe you won't see on major league rosters.
Fastball by him. A 3-pitch strikeout for Travis Wood, and 2 down in the first inning. On the flip side, Ned Yost has a lot of his regulars in his lineup today. And defensively, Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, Paulo Orlando is in right, Mike Moustakas at third. Christian Colon starts at short with Whit Merrifield at second base. Ryan O'Hearn is at first, and Drew Butera is getting a lot of playing time with Salvador Perez still banged up from the collision that they had in the World Baseball Classic.
Very unfortunate situation. I'm sure a lot of people concerned about him, but everyone we've talked to said Salvador Perez will be 100% to start the season.
Giovanni Urshela with 2 down. Down in the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. With the Royals playing the Indians, this name might ring a bell in talking about Travis Wood, but I've heard the comparisons between Travis Wood and Cliff Lee, who won a Cy Young with the Indians.
Pretty good company.
They are both from Arkansas and have trained in the offseason together. And one thing I remember about Cliff Lee, and this applies to Travis Wood, they didn't really have a fastball that would light up the radar gun, but they still threw their fastball a lot. Well,
their off pitches make that fastball so much better. If you have a nice changeup, a cutter, a slider, a curveball to go along with the fastball, you can get a by in that 88 to 92 range, which you're going to see from Travis Wood this year.
Well, his first 3 pitches were out of the strike zone, but Wood comes back with a fly ball and 2 strikeouts in the top of the first. Alex Gordon and the Royals are coming up when we come back. Ned Yost in his 8th season, 7th full season as Royals manager. And he said, this goes back to FanFest along with general manager Dayton Moore, that they believe the Royals are going to score more runs this year, Monty, but maybe a little differently from what we're used to.
Absolutely. Not as athletic as far as the speed factor is concerned. We've seen the Royals manufacture runs over the last few seasons, be very successful at doing that. This year, probably going to see more home runs, more power, more balls hit into the gap from this Royals lineup.
It is a bounce-back season for Alex Gordon, and so far he has bounced back. He's had a good camp. The Royals are facing left-hander Sean Moramondo, who's pitching out of the stretch with nobody on, and throws a strike to Alex Gordon.
Yeah, look at last season's combined numbers, 15-5 with a 3.25 ERA between AA and AAA, so really nice season for him.
And the Indians are loaded. Their big league club looks good. Their farm system looks good. They had the second best earned run average in the American League last year. Only the Blue Jays had a lower team ERA, and they pile up the strikeouts. The Indians led the league in strikeouts a year ago. Still 1-2 on Alex.
You're right. We take a look last year at the season that Alex Gordon had in comparison to his average numbers. Obviously, in every category, a decline. Looking to see a big bounce back this year.
Outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Interesting looking at those numbers, and they keep track of every category. But his line drive percentage was actually higher last year than in his career. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. We were talking to Dale Swaim, Royals batting coach, before today's game, and the adjustment Dale would like to see is to have Alex a little more upright in the batter's box.
Yeah, he's upright. That allows him to kind of pivot more. His head stays still. And when you're trying to hit a baseball, keeping your head still is very important.
And if there's something that Alex has changed from time to time in his stance, it's that. You know, sometimes he's upright, sometimes he's down in more of a crouch.
Right, if you're leaned over, at some point you have to get back upright in order to hit the ball with authority, and that creates that movement with the head, and obviously makes it more difficult for that moving head to hit a moving baseball. Watch how his head position stays right there together. Not a lot of movement. No contact, but the head was very still.
Going to go the changeup on 3-2, and Alex is out in front. And Moramondo begins his outing with a strikeout. A look at the Indians defensively, and a name that we point out is their center fielder, Bradley Zimmer, who is the younger brother of Kyle Zimmer. Both Bradley for the Indians and Kyle for the Royals are first-round picks. 0-1 on Mike Moustakas. Royals are feeling good about where Moustakas is right now as a hitter, but still needs a little more work defensively as he recovers from his major knee surgery last year.
With more repetition, he will get that mobility. He will get that strength that you need. But spring training is certainly the time to do it. But hopefully he's going to be ready to play on a more regular basis as you get closer these last couple of weeks. And then obviously when the season starts, you'd like to have, with those off days, a chance to get him as many at-bats as possible.
He is scheduled to play again tomorrow, and that'll be the first time he's played in back-to-back games on defense. Lines that breaking ball into right field. And there are 2 down. Maribel makes the play. Ned Yost is telling us he expects Moustakas to play maybe 4 days a week the first 2 or 3 weeks of the regular season. We expect that we'll see some cold weather in those early weeks too. That's not going to help his knee loosen up at all. So 2 down to Lorenzo Cain.
It's always nice when you start the season in a known warm climate. Unfortunately, We don't know what we're going to get in Minneapolis.
No, we don't. I will bet you, however, that we will not get sunshine and 95 degrees like they have today. A little bit low. And I brought that up every year, Monty, how a hitter or a pitcher gets into a nice groove in Arizona or Florida. Short sleeves, sunshine, breaking a sweat. And the next thing you know, you're in the East or the Midwest in a turtleneck.
It's a lot different. That's no doubt about that.
3 up, 3 down for Moramundo. No score at the end of 1. Sports Kansas City is brought to you by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket played goes back to Missouri schools, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. By the Surprise Recreation Campus, the tradition continues. And by Shelter Insurance, for your auto, home, and life, we're your shield, we're your shelter. And it has been hot here lately, even for Arizona. 7, 8, 9 degrees above the normal temperatures. It's going to cool down back into the 70s next week. And with spring break back in Kansas City, we're seeing more and more fans making the trip southwest to watch the Royals as they put in the final tune-ups for the regular season. April 3rd at Minnesota. That's hit hard right to Colon at shortstop. And Travis Wood has set down the first 4. You know, this could also play into what the Royals do at second base, Monty, is I've always felt like you have 2 types of backup infielders. You have a backup who can play 3 positions, but you always have to have somebody who can play shortstop. And not every backup infielder can play shortstop.
Right, probably the most difficult position on the infield to play, shortstop, because of all that goes on at second base and the ability to make things happen up the middle. And I think the throwing arm is obviously one of those factors. Christian Colon is a guy that can do a lot of different things for you.
One down to Richie Schaefer, who's playing at first base. 1 ball and 1 strike. Travis Wood struck out 2 in the first inning. And he's ahead, 1 ball and 2 strikes. 5'11", 175 pounds, Travis Wood. Off speed. And he has 3 strikeouts against the first 5 hitters he's faced.
Yeah, just an outstanding curveball we're going to see here. It's going to be down on that back foot. That's where you like that pitch to finish out of the strike zone. Nice execution.
One disadvantage for Travis Wood in going to the American League is that his team will not be able to use his bat. We hear he can really hit.
I've heard him compared to Madison Bumgarner.
Wow,
with the stick.
That's some comparison. Bradley Zimmer, younger brother of Kyle Zimmer. Kyle, Royals first-round pick. Bradley Zimmer, Indians first-round pick, and he is the Indians' #1 position prospect. Big, strong, good speed. He is 6'4", 6'5", but they're using him in center field, and he has the ability to steal 40 bases.
Spitting image in the face of his brother.
Sure is. Good character player, just like his brother. Plays off a very close pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I'm sure Indians fans and Royals fans alike would love to see the brothers match up in the big leagues. That would be a very good sign that both players have progressed at the level that they would like to get to.
Well, Travis Wood missed with his first 3 pitches today against Eric Gonzalez, but he has been in the strike zone with every pitch after that, with all of his pitches.
Well, and that's the whole thing, making that adjustment coming in for the bullpen mound to that mound on the field. Oftentimes it takes a few pitches to get your legs under you, but certainly he's made the adjustment.
And when he's missed like that, just barely. He was on his way to the third base dugout thinking that was going to be strike 3.
Can see why.
So from inside to outside, that's where Butera sets up the target, and it's a little bit wide, and Bradley Zimmer comes back, and he's on with a 2-out walk.
Number 53, Adam Moore.
And now Adam Moore, who spent some time in the Royals organization last year at AAA Columbus. Right down the middle for strike 1.
Yeah, Ryan, as we talked about in the open, there's a certain phases of spring training that you want to go through, and like right now for the pitchers, you want to start incorporating all those pitches. You want to start executing. You want to kind of get that feel on the mound for what's going to work for you as a starting pitcher. You want to establish that early in the ball game. Go out there and make sure that all those pitches you have command of, make sure that you're hitting the locations, lefty, righty, whatever it might be, just to get ready for that season, because only another couple of starts for the starting pitchers.
Yeah, you don't hear as much in the last week to 10 days. I'm just trying to get my work in, which you hear a lot of the first 2 weeks. Runner going, and Butera throws it by Merrifield, and Zimmer will get up and go to third base. So a stolen base and an error on Drew Butera. And again, Zimmer, who's big, is showing off how athletic he is.
To third base on E2.
Drew Butera going to take the error on that play. I'm sure that Whit Merrifield would love to have kept that ball in front of him and keep that runner at second base.
Changeup is outside. 3-1 on Adam Moore. Adam Moore in 2012 spent most of the season in the minor leagues. The Royals called him up in September, and in his first at bat as a Royal, he hit a home run against the Indians.
Tony Andrews, please report to the Stadium Operations Office. Tony Andrews to the Stadium Operations Office on the Oakland concourse.
One of those memorable moments they can never take away. It's always on the back of your baseball card.
Hit high and deep to right. Paulo Orlando has just enough room to make the play. And so Travis Wood works around the walk, the stolen base, and the error. The Royals are 500 so far in Cactus League play, 11-11. The Indians are 10-11-1. Paulo Orlando bats fourth today, playing in right field. He'll be followed by Chesler Cuthbert, who's the DH, and Whit Merrifield, who is at second. Sean Moramondo faced 3 and retired 3 in the bottom of the first inning.
Ryan had a chance to visit with Paulo Orlando today for the first time this spring and congratulated him on the new addition to the Orlando family. The biggest smile I've seen for a long time.
Which is saying a lot, because Paulo is usually smiling. Royals have always been so impressed with his physical talents and his attitude. In a good mood every day. Every year he goes and plays winter ball, and he did it again this year. Went to Venezuela. Constantly trying to improve his game, improve his standing in the organization. Popped up, and as we've said before, there is nothing routine hit in the air in Arizona. Rodriguez makes a play at second base. Gonzalez looked like he lost it there at the end. One down.
Number 19, Chesler Cuthbert.
Arizona sun, it's up there. High sky.
And now Chesler Cuthbert, who is the designated hitter today. If there was a silver lining from last year with the Royals not making the playoffs and finishing at 500, was because of injuries, the Royals got a long look at Chesler Cuthbert. They got a long look at Whit Merrifield. They got a long look at Paulo Orlando, Matt Strahm. So there is much less guessing going into 2017 when you're trying to figure out how they might contribute this year.
Right, and you look at some of these players, another year of growth and experience, maturity, and like Chesler Cuthbert, one of the first things I notice about Chesler today is the fact he seems to be like he's a bigger, stronger player, which likely would equate to more power.
That's hit well to right field, and moving over is Maribel. Makes a nice running play just inside the line.
Second baseman, number 15, Whit Merrifield.
Chesler going the other way, hitting it where it's pitched. Nearly ends up with the extra base hit.
So 2 down to Whit Merrifield. Batted .283 in 81 games after a second consecutive very impressive spring training. He really opened eyes 2 years ago, and now drops down a perfect bunt. Schaefer tried to kick it foul. Well, Merrifield, who runs well, he can be a handful with his legs when he's on the bases and finding a way to get on here with 2 outs.
I can promise you Rusty Kuntz over in that dugout is very excited about what he just saw. Find a way to make it happen. What has a way of doing that?
And now Christian Colon, who homered yesterday in Maryvale against the Brewers, his first spring training home run. The Royals, you can take this for what it's worth. They believe they're going to hit more home runs. They're certainly going to have more power in the lineup. And here in Arizona, they have been hitting home runs. The Royals have hit 28 home runs. That is the second most among the teams in Arizona. And they've really spread them out. Christian is one of 18 Royals who's hit a home run this spring.
We'll reading and listening to the experts, everybody seems to feel that there may be 6 players with 20-plus home run potential in that Royals lineup this year.
Merrifield runs. Good pitch to throw on. And the throw is a little bit high. So Merrifield in with a 2-out stolen base.
Real good example. The Royals maybe trying to manufacture run bunt to get on the base, steal that base, now just take a single, get that first run on the board.
That is a fair ball. And now Hankins slips in the left field corner, and Colon is digging for 3. He is in there. So the Royals do get the 2-out run. The bunch single, a stolen base. Probably going to be a double and an error. And the Royals take a 1-0 lead.
Colon going to get a pitch he can handle on the inside part of the plate. Really nice job sneaking it by down the third base line. A little slippery out there. I'm not sure if that'll be a E. I guess they did give him an error.
So double RBI error on Hankins in left field. And here's Ryan O'Hearn. And if you've been following the Royals' work in the minor leagues the past couple of years, this is a name that has come up a couple of years ago. Minor league player of the year. 22 home runs, 78 driven in last year. But he understands if you wear that uniform, you have to do more than hit. And before Eric Hosmer left for the World Baseball Classic, Ryan O'Hearn was spending as much time working on his defense as he was swinging the bat. Strike 3 right down the middle. That ends the inning. Whit Merrifield sets up the inning with a 2-out bunch single. Christian Colon gets him home, and the Royals lead 1-0. And a good start for Travis Wood. 2 scoreless innings, 3 strikeouts already. Outside to Ronnie Rodriguez. He has been pitch efficient with just 32 pitches in the first 2 innings. 1 hop to Moustakas, over Moustakas, and all Colon do is glove it. That'll be an infield single for Ronnie Rodriguez. And the first hit for the Indians.
That would qualify as a desert hit. Hit it hard off the front of the plate. There's a good chance it's going to get some air, and sure enough, right over Moose's head.
There is really nothing good about pitching in Arizona. There are many great reasons for hitting in Arizona, but the longer we get into spring training, the worse it gets for the pitchers. We mentioned the sky. Everything hit in the air is a challenge. The ballparks are big because of the dry air the ball really carries, so they compensate by moving the fences back, but that creates a lot of gaps in the outfield. And the later we get into spring training, the harder that infield dirt and infield grass becomes. And just about everything that's hit on the ground somehow finds a way to get through.
And oftentimes there's a jet stream seemingly blowing out the right field in this ballpark a lot. Today, not as much the case.
So if you can pitch here and be successful, you could probably pitch at the Little K and be successful.
Or at least in Colorado.
Off the roof for the Royals dugout and back into the crowd. Well, somebody made a nice catch. Connor Maribel, who's made a couple of nice plays in right field for the Indians. Indians are hoping to get a little deeper in their outfield this year, hoping that Michael Brantley will be able to give them a full season. He missed almost all of last year with a couple of operations on his shoulder.
Yeah, Michael Brantley is such a multi-tool player. To see the Indians go as far as they did, it's a testament to the depth they do have.
Injuries to their pitching staff late in the year. Carlos Carrasco, Danny Salazar. Trevor Bauer cut his finger on a drone, which is a true story. and yet they got to Game 7 of the World Series. Terry Francona was named the American League Manager of the Year, and he certainly deserved that award. One and two. 4 strikeouts. Got him with a fastball. Well, if you want to host your company, family, sports team, or other group out at Kauffman Stadium for any special occasion, single game suites and party areas are now available for regular season games throughout the month of April and May. Call 816-504-4040, option 4, or email groupsales@royals.com. This is Eric Gonzalez. He opened the game with a fly ball to deep center field. This one's off the end of the bat. Paulo Orlando waits with the runner halfway. 2 down.
I'm very impressed with the way Travis Wood's attacking the strike zone. We talked about earlier, not going to overpower anyone, but he's got such a nice mix of pitches and does a nice job holding runners while they're on base, and I think that a testament to his experience as a relief pitcher, but really likes to attack the strike zone.
Todd Hankins with 2 down, and that's a little bit outside. And when he's not throwing in the strike zone, he is just barely missing the strike zone.
Well, and I think that's one thing as a relief pitcher you learn. You have to attack. In order to be successful, you have to attack coming out of that bullpen, and he's carrying it right into this game here today.
O'Hearn looks up into the sunlight, and that's back into the crowd.
We're going to take a look at Travis Wood's strikeouts here so far on the day. You see the fastball there. He's got the nice breaking ball, another breaking ball. So he's got a variety really featured. Putting hitters away at the fastball, that's always a very good sign.
As a hitter, you can't go up there and just sit on one pitch.
Absolutely not.
Jam badly, and that's going to drop into shallow right field. Rodriguez will go first to third. And Hankins is on with a single. Runners at the corners. And Giovanni Urshela coming up. Remember reading about Travis Wood when the Royals were in Chicago 2 years ago for interleague play, and reading that the turnaround for him, Monty, was learning to pitch to his arm side. What does that mean?
Well, a lot of times the ball will get away from you. For a lefty, it's going to be away to the right-handed batter a lot. Once you can command that pitch away, then you have the ability to do a lot more things because the breaking ball is going to come into that right-handed batter. So it essentially makes you an effective pitcher against lefties and against right-handed pitchers or batters.
Again, just missing 2-0.
The tendency as a pitcher oftentimes on the arm side is to fly open. That ball leaves the strike zone. The hitters immediately can recognize that pitch is going to be a ball. They lay off it. But when you have the ability to stay tight, stay closed, you can command that outside corner when you have a lefty versus righty.
Now pitch inside. 2-1.
And if you're not overpowering, you certainly need to have the ability to command both sides of the plate, whether it be with your breaking ball or your fastball. You have to find a way to get pitches to either side. I found that it didn't really matter if it was a fastball or it was, say, a slider, as long as you get the pitch to that part of the plate.
Out to Moustakas. Close and out. So a couple of singles against Travis Wood in the third inning, with the Indians strand 2. One 0 Royals. Drew Butera will lead off the bottom of the third inning. Biggest fear for any team in the World Baseball Classic is one of your players getting hurt. The last thing in the world you'd ever consider is one of your players getting hurt as a result of one of your other players.
Yeah, certainly a scary situation. Drew Butera obviously not trying to do any damage to Sal Butera, but he was, Sal Perez, but he's in a really tough position there in his leg. Unfortunately, his left knee gets locked up underneath him.
You know, if you really watch that play carefully, it was pretty obvious that Drew was trying to avoid a collision with Salvador Perez and trying to get as far to the outside of home plate as possible. But the pitcher, Francisco Rodriguez, decided to be a cutoff man right in front of home plate. And his throw to the plate took Salvador Perez right into that sliding lane. And Drew's really been swinging the bat well. Zimmer makes a nice running play in center field. Drew hit 2 home runs in the World Baseball Classic for Team Italy. So you go back and you ask yourself, well, what went wrong on that play? And it was the position of the pitcher, and his throw to the plate is what led to the collision.
Well, they oftentimes say, and I don't necessarily buy into it, keep the pitchers out of the action. Sometimes there's a good reason for it.
You feel a little stronger about that position now that you are no longer a pitcher?
I'm still the same.
Royals have 1 run, 2 hits against Sean Morimando, who struck out Alex Gordon in the first inning with a changeup. Morimando has struck out 2. Royals have hit some balls hard to the outfield against him. Look out. That almost got Mike Moustakas in the on-deck area, and Moustakas immediately moves to the screen, behind the screen, and sits next to Ned Yost.
Experience is very valuable in this game.
We had a scary moment right here in Surprise a couple of weeks ago. Hunter Dozier was at the plate for the Royals, and on a check swing hit one of the Giants coaches in the face with a foul tip, and ever since then they have been putting screens in front of the coaching staffs. Who, it only happens in spring training where they will sit outside of the dugout. It gives them a little more space because they're constantly evaluating in spring training. They can have a little more privacy to have conversations about players. I mean, that goes way, way back in tradition for those guys to sit outside of the dugout.
But really, in effect, they're almost as close to the plate as the pitcher is, so not a lot of time to react.
Mike Moustakas drills it to deep center field, and Zimmer can't get to this one. So Moustakas, who lined to right field for an out in the first inning, doubles to center. And the Royals feel really good about how he's looked at the plate.
Yeah, no doubt about this one. Lefty on lefty, but Moustakas sees the ball really well. Gets some nice lift on it. I'm surprised that ball didn't actually get out of here. He hit it so well.
Second double for the Royals. Colon had an RBI double last inning. Royals scored their run with 2 outs last inning. And now Lorenzo Cain will try and get Moustakas home. He grounded out to second base in the first inning. At the knees for a strike. Lorenzo thought it was a little low. Right to the left fielder, Hankins. And that'll do it. Moustakas hits a 2-out double. And at the end of 3 in Surprise, the Royals lead 1-0.
Wait.
Monty and I had a chance to spend some time with Ned Yost this morning, and Ned, typically this time of year, very relaxed. He knows there's time, 2.5 weeks until the Royals will be at Minnesota. 3 games in the Twin Cities, followed by 3 games at Houston. And then the Royals will be at Kauffman Stadium on the 10th against the Oakland A's. The A's, the Angels, and the Giants for the very first homestand. Ned, it's always entertaining to watch and listen to Ned answer all the spring training questions about position battles. You know, and he has a plan in his mind, and he has an idea of where the Royals are right now, but he also knows that things have a way of sorting themselves out.
Right.
Baseball has a way of sorting itself out.
Right, and either during the season or here toward the end of spring training camp, it seems like there's always something that comes up. And they do. They essentially take care of themselves, whether it be a tweak to an oblique or something that happens to a player where he needs a little extra time for the season to start. With the off days early in the season, sometimes you have to make your roster adjustments accordingly because you may not need that extra pitcher. You may need that extra position player.
Richie Schaefer, after Diaz flies out to right field. Schaefer struck out against Travis Wood. Wood has only surrendered a couple of singles, 1 an infield single in his first 3 1/3 innings. 1 walk, 4 strikeouts so far for Travis Wood. That's hit well to left field and just over the railing for a home run. So the Indians tie the game on a home run from Richie Schaefer, who's at first base today.
Home run number 4 for Schaefer. Came out on
That is his 4th spring training home run.
Nice demonstration of power. Obviously a low ball hitter. That ball was down below the knees, and he goes down and gets it, hits it a long way.
That'll bring up Bradley Zimmer. So, Monty, if that was you on the mound right now, how upset are you? I mean, it's probably a guy you don't have a scouting report on, right? What do you think the Royals knew about Richie Schaefer before he came to the plate? Is that a pretty easy one to shake off?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you're obviously trying to execute pitches down on the strike zone. That ball was down on the strike zone. Oftentimes you're going to get hurt when you're in that mid-thigh belt level. That ball was down. Schaefer just did a great job in going down and getting it. And certain guys, you just make adjustments. I'm sure next time, if the next time it comes up today, Wood may approach him a little differently.
Travis Wood has only walked 1, and that was the man at the plate right now, Bradley Zimmer, who's swinging 3-0. You'll see a lot of that in the spring training games. Moustakas fights the sun and brings it down. 2 down. The World Baseball Classic. Don't miss your chance to see the best players represent and compete for their country. You can catch all the action on TV, on MLB Network, MLB.com, and ESPN Deportes, or go watch the games in person. You can get tickets at worldbaseballclassic.com. Danny Duffy's going to be pitching a do-or-die game for Team USA.
That should be a great game tonight against the Dominican Republic.
Adam Moore is on with 2 down. That will be, it's a rematch, isn't it, from the championship of the last World Baseball Classic?
I don't recall.
Correct? That's the problem, some will say, about the World Baseball Classic from the United States perspective. I don't remember either. It's not maybe caught on as mainstream in the United States as it has in some of the other countries, but it appears on the surface that there has been more of a commitment from the players this year on Team USA that realize, okay, look, this thing's been going on for a while now. We haven't won one yet.
And I've seen highlights from that Eric Hosmer home run. He certainly had some emotion after he hit that home run. And I think if you look at the other countries, it seems like they maybe have a little more intensity as far as playing for their country. I mean, obviously here in the States, we're playing for our country every day.
Right.
They're playing for their country now as a unit.
Line to right. Paulo is there. That's the inning. Ronnie Rodriguez is 1 for 2. Richie Schaefer homers for the Indians to tie the game at 1. Is Richie Schaefer, who just homered against Travis Wood in the top of the 4th inning to tie the game at 1. Christian Colon had doubled in a run for the Royals in the 2nd inning. And here is the Indians closer, at least one of their closers, Cody Allen. The Indians also use Andrew Miller quite a bit after the trade with the Yankees. And it's very common in spring training games to see a closer come on not in the 9th inning, but in the middle innings.
Well, especially early in spring training camp. Now here, approaching the 2-week mark with games to go. But ideally, you want to get in and face guys who are likely going to have a chance to see during the season. Not necessarily you want to show them your stuff, but you want to pitch against the best hitters if you have the ability. Now, very difficult to replicate the environment that a closer is going to experience in a 9th inning in a big league ballpark during the course of the year, but this probably is the best opportunity for them to do that.
When you start looking at reasons why the Indians advanced as far as they did last year, similar to the Royals, you can break it down with talent. You can also break it down with character, and there's a great example that involves Cody Allen as he'll pitch to Paulo Orlando, Chesler Cuthbert, and Whit Merrifield. There were some rumors that the Indians were interested in Andrew Miller, who was pitching with the Yankees. Well, Andrew Miller was a closer type. And the question was, well, if they traded for Andrew Miller, what would you do with Cody Allen? Cody Allen's already the closer, a successful closer. Would he be able to handle being a setup man rather than the closer? And as the story goes, Cody Allen went to the Indians and said, if you can get Andrew Miller and it makes us better, don't worry about me. You go get him. We'll figure it out. Now, they may have made the trade anyway, but that sure makes the manager and the general manager feel a lot better when your closer goes in and says, do whatever you can, even if it means I have some sort of a demotion.
Right. It certainly adds depth to that bullpen, especially Miller. We saw what he's been able to do in his career, especially last season and in the postseason. But I think with Cody Allen, you look at a guy he's got experience. He's not playing baseball now for that paycheck. He's playing to win a championship, and last year he had the chance to do that. And really looking at the Indians club last year, to me, they took a page out of the Royals book with regards to the importance of having a lockdown bullpen, and he was a key element in doing that because they had the banged up rotation. Think about this in the World Series. Corey Kluber had to start 3 games as a result of the injuries to their rotation. So that bullpen, a lot like the Royals bullpen in 2014 and 15, they relied on heavily.
2-0 from Allen to Chester Cuthbert. Royals have some roles they need to iron out this year in their bullpen. Before closers, the best relievers were known as firemen. And you call a fireman when there's a fire. And the fire doesn't necessarily show up in the 9th inning. Sometimes it was the 6th inning. Sometimes it was the 7th inning. And Terry Francona kind of used that old throwback way of using your firemen. If you faced the Indians in the postseason last year, you had no idea when Andrew Miller was going to come in. Sometimes it was the 6th inning. Sometimes it was the 8th inning. Sometimes it was the 9th.
Well, and Terry Francona, the American League Manager of the Year for a reason, and certainly understanding how important that is. And you change your script, you change the way you do things in that postseason based on the intensity, the importance of every pitch of every game.
Schaefer really fighting that tough Arizona sun, makes a play in foul territory. Cuthbert is 0 for 2.
Second baseman number 15, Whit Merrifield.
Allen saved 32 games for the Indians last year. And now Whit Merrifield. He scored the Royals run in the 2nd inning. Batting in the same spot he's right now. 2 outs and nobody on base. He dropped down a beautiful bunt up the first base side. Later stole second base, and then Christian Colon got him home with a double. Monty, I don't know how Whit feels about it, but this has to be a completely different feel for him in how he's viewed in spring training versus last year.
Right, there are different stages of your career, but when you come to spring training for the first time with your name penciled onto that roster, there's some pressure. Whether you want to believe it or not, there is some pressure that you put on yourself, and it takes a while to work through that, and hopefully now Whit's getting to the stage of camp where he's going to be there.
3 up, 3 down for Cody Allen out of the Indians bullpen. And a 1-1 tie in surprise. You know, Monty, I've always wondered, when I first arrive in spring training, everyone comes up to me and says, "So, did you just get here?" And I think, how do they know if I just got here or not? And then I look down at the tone of my skin. Those two guys just got here.
I think you're right.
Yep.
How about the guy behind him?
That is a brave man. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's got the right idea. I'm hoping that's not his umbrella.
I'm pretty sure, well, not that umbrella, but the one we saw before with the other design on it. I'm pretty sure that was an umbrella from Cleveland, not Kansas City.
Yeah, we haven't seen a manly umbrella yet. There we go. Now that's an umbrella. That's a tent. Home plate umpire Roberto Ortiz. If he wasn't 100% awake before that pitch, he is now, as Royals head trainer Nick Kenny goes out to have a chat with him. Where are you? What did you have for breakfast? Did you bring your daughter's umbrella today like the guys in the outfield? All the basic questions just to make sure he's all right. There's bring your daughter to work day, and then there is the promotion they do once a year here at Surprise Stadium. Bring your daughter's umbrella to the ballpark day. Caught by Kane in center field.
Shortstop
60 pitches for Travis Wood, and that's about the pitch limit for Chris Young, who is scheduled to follow Travis Wood. So if they pitch equally as efficient, Ned Yost might only need a couple of guys today.
27, Brian Shaw.
60 pitches in 4 1/3 innings. And now ball one to Eric Gonzalez. So third time through the order for the Indians, mostly minor leaguers today. Back to Wood. Good athlete. We mentioned he can really swing the bat. Good fielding pitcher and takes care of Gonzalez, and there are 2 down in the 5th inning.
Read where Travis Wood actually played a little bit of outfield for Joe Madden as well. So if Ned Yost gets in a little bit of a bind with regards to position players, maybe Travis Wood will get an opportunity to play in Kauffman Stadium.
And I know at least once he brought in Travis Wood to face a lefty, and then a righty was coming up. But Joe Madden wanted Travis Wood to face the next hitter, who is another lefty. So he faced a lefty. He put him in the outfield for one batter, so he doesn't have to take him out of the game. And I think you can find this on YouTube. He made a great play in left field and then came in for the next hitter. He has just given up his 2nd home run of the day. This one to Todd Hankins. I would assume, Monty, he might be a little more frustrated with that pitch to Hankins than he was on the one to Schaefer, who homered last inning.
Right, maybe showing just a little sign of tiring out a little bit. This ball's going to be left up. Talked about that pitch waist and above. There's a good example of it. And those usually, it doesn't even matter if it's spring training, those usually leave the ballpark.
Giovanni Urshela. 65 pitches for Wood. One and one. A couple of years ago, Giovanni Urshela finished out the regular season as the Indians' third baseman and was projected to be their third baseman last year, and then spent the season in the minor leagues. Moustakas dives on the left side, gets to his feet, throws low, and it's picked out by O'Hearn. So Travis Wood goes 5 innings. He allows 2 solo home runs. The Indians have taken the lead. It is 92 degrees at the moment in Surprise, and going to be in the mid-90s again tomorrow. Well, do season ticket plans include too many games for you to handle? Well, then take advantage of a mini plan option. The Royals Pick 10 plan. Pick any 10 games throughout the season, excluding opening day, and save big off single game prices. For seating and pricing, call 1-800-6-ROYALS-OPTION-2 or email seasonsales@royals.com. Brian Shaw, just like Cody Allen before him, typically pitches at the end of the game, but wanting to face big league hitters, comes on in the bottom of the 5th, and we'll get Christian Colon, Ryan O'Hearn, and Drew Butera. Christian doubled up the left field line with 2 outs in the 2nd inning, scoring Whit Merrifield to give the Royals a 1-0 lead. And the Indians got solo home runs in the 4th and 5th innings to take the lead. And Colon gets it just over Rodriguez's glove, and he's on with a leadoff single.
Brian Shaw certainly a cutter repertoire, and CC Colon, he sees one away and he's going to go the other way with it. Nice line drive single.
And now Ryan O'Hearn, a little bit high. O'Hearn struck out looking against Indian starter Sean Morimondo. One ball, one strike. I would imagine it was a long off season for Brian Shaw. Nobody was pointing any fingers at him, and yet he was the losing pitcher in Game 7 of the World Series against the Cubs. Ben Zobrist driving in a run to put the Cubs ahead. Nice flip, no double play, but pretty nifty play. Rodriguez getting it to Gonzalez for the force on Colon.
Not an easy play. Had a little hang time. Otherwise, had a chance to turn 2. Would have been spectacular double play.
And now Drew Butera, who lined out to deep center field in the 3rd inning. No balls, one strike.
It's been fun to watch Drew Butera really evolve into a very quality major league hitter. Going back 4 or 5 years ago, Drew was a hitter that you really didn't expect a lot from. Now he's a guy that delivered big time. A lot of extra base hits last year, and he's really developed into a clutch hitter. Doesn't get a lot of playing time, but when he does, he has the ability to help you win a ball game.
Trying a hit and run, so he was protecting O'Hearn and swinging at a pitch well out of the strike zone. And he does something you see very few hitters do today, something we're taught in Little League. You get to 2 strikes, even with Drew before 2 strikes, choke up on the bat for a little extra bat control, which has made his swing shorter.
I mistakenly called him Sal Butera earlier for a good reason. His father, Sal Butera, was one of my first catchers in the major leagues with the Cincinnati Reds.
You know, it's one thing to have your father play in the major leagues, but how about your father playing in the major leagues basically the exact same role that you have. Sal was a very good backup catcher for some all-stars over the course of his career. Thinking offhand, I believe he backed up for guys like Gary Carter,
yes,
Lance Parrish,
correct,
Butch Weiniger. Drew is backed up for Joe Mauer when he was still catching in Minnesota, Salvador Perez. Nice play in left field by Hankins, and he was really fighting the sun. 2 down. And how many times, getting back to Drew Butera, a player of his type really begins to thrive, and these words are used very often, when they began to realize who they are and they accept the role that they have.
Right, understanding your role, whether it be a guy going from the rotation into the bullpen. We see so many guys just make that adjustment and they become solid players for a long time, and I think Drew certainly fits that category, and very happy for him.
Alex has struck out twice. Cutter is inside. Struck out swinging in the first inning, and then looking in the third, both against Indian starter today, Sean Moramondo. Two and one.
Moramondo obviously had some pretty decent deception against Alex Gordon, because he has been locked in lately. Been swinging bat extremely well. Been on fire.
Two and two.
Ryan, I don't think it really matters if you're an Alex Gordon or you're the guy trying to be the 25th man on the roster. You want to do some things at the end of camp for your confidence. You want to be going into that season feeling really good. Throw the numbers out the window for spring training camp, but you want to be seeing the ball well. You want to be throwing the ball well, whatever it might be. You want to have some confidence.
That's a fair ball. How far will O'Hearn go? Mike Jershely is going to wave him home. Alex is digging for 3. And he's out from here to Lincoln, but he ties the game. The silver lining in that play is that he probably doesn't have to do his running conditioning when the game's over. Is for the Royals in a 2-2 tie, and we'll begin with Chris Young. He and Travis Wood are competing for that 5th spot in the rotation with Nate Carnes. Carnes pitched yesterday, and now Wood and Young will pitch today. Travis Wood gave up 2 runs, 5 hits in 5 innings. (2-0) against Yandy Diaz, one of the best pure hitters in the Indians farm system. Shallow center field. Lorenzo Cain, I don't think he sees it. Now he does. He was telling Billy Burns, who just came into the game, he was waving over to Billy Burns, come over here and help me out. So it disappeared into the sun and then came back out of the sun.
I think he had to wait till that one got in the chimney to be able to see it, because it was coming straight down, and I don't think he picked it up till right at the very end. Please help me.
And now Richie Schaefer. That's pulled foul. Schaefer homered in the 4th inning. Right through Moustakas' legs. Hit very hard. And the way Moustakas reacted to that, I don't know if he saw it. He was kind of in the middle of shuffling his feet, and that ball was right on him. Yeah, that ball's hit hard.
Moose is wanting another one hit right to him. Give me a chance to turn it around and get a double play here. Talking with some of the Royals coaches, that's one thing that's really been missing during spring training camp. Maybe it's that stellar defense that we're accustomed to seeing. A lot of errors on the Royals.
Well, get it out of their system now.
Please.
Bradley Zimmer has walked, stolen a base, and popped out to 3rd. One and one from Chris Young to Bradley Zimmer. A couple of players here with the Indians today with connections to the Royals. You mentioned Bradley Zimmer is the younger brother of Kyle Zimmer, and the Indians also have brought over Luke Wakamatsu, who is the son of Royals bench coach Don Wakamatsu. Expect to see him at some point in the game today. Luke is a switch hitting infielder. Big jump at first base for Schaefer, and really nothing that Drew Butera could do. So Schaefer gets the stolen base. Chris Young gets the strikeout, and they're 2 down.
Yeah, Chris Young's going to elevate a little. Unfortunately, no chance for Drew Butera on the throw to second base, and that's just been one of those things with Chris Young during the course of his career. He focuses on the hitter, less focus on the runner at first base.
There's Don Wakamatsu. Now Adam Moore. And when you're 6'10", it takes a while for you to get all those body parts aligned to home plate.
And it's tough as a pitcher when you can concentrate on one thing at a time. You can concentrate on the hitter, or you can concentrate on the guy at first base. And anytime you get a little diversion, focus shifts away from the guy at the plate, it's going to hurt you. And sometimes that's really key for a pitcher. Stay focused on the batter.
1-1 on Moore. Well, Chris Young is about as difficult as any player you're going to come by to make an excuse for having an off season. But the truth is, he spent time on the disabled list last year with a right forearm strain, and then as soon as the season was over, he had abdominal surgery. So you tweak a forearm and you're not feeling 100% in your core and your abdominal muscles, pretty hard to be as best as you can be on the mound.
Well, it's very important for a pitcher to use that core. Whether you're 6'10" like Chris Young or a 5'10" guy, you have to use a core. Hopefully this year that'll be better for him.
Pitches a scoreless 6th inning. He works around the air to the bottom of the 6th, and we're tied at 2. Hot sunny day in Arizona, and we are tied at 2 at Surprise Stadium. Celebrate opening day and show the neighbors your Rays Royal by flying your very own flag designed specifically for Greater Kansas City Day supporters. Limited edition flags are available for a $10 donation to Royals charities. Flags can be purchased online now at royals.com/flag or at a KC area price chopper. And that's from April 7th through April 10th. Carlos Frias is the new Indians pitcher. He's their 4th pitcher today. Pitched 1 game with the Dodgers, otherwise spent last year in the minor leagues. Mike Moustakas leads off. He's had a good day at the plate. He has lined to right and doubled to center.
And we were talking about the importance of the core, the oblique, and he actually ended the season last year as a result of an oblique injury, so something that pitchers oftentimes experience.
Moustakas, Kane, and Orlando. Three-0. Colon drove in a run in the 2nd inning with a double. Gordon drove in a run in the 5th inning with a double. The Indians have solo home runs from Schaefer and Hankins. And Moustakas is on with a 4-pitch walk.
Center fielder number 6, Lorenzo King.
And now Terrence Gore is going to come on and run for Mike Moustakas.
Carlos Frias may not have known what he's getting himself into by walking Moustakas with Terrence Gore on the bench.
Pitch is low, and Gore is out.
Wow.
Terrence Gore, as you know, has had tremendous success stealing bases at the major league level, obviously in the minor league level, but he's had an awful time against the Cleveland Indians, and it doesn't matter who's behind the plate. That is a perfect throw, and probably the only throw that gets Terrence Gore.
I think I may have only seen him thrown out 3 times in the times I've watched him play, and I think all 3 times may have been against the Indians.
Off the end of the bat, Kane is on for the first time. He's 1 for 3. Well, Monty, I think you're right. Because Terrence Gore had been perfect as a major leaguer. And I think the first time he was thrown out was by Roberto Perez of the Cleveland Indians in Cleveland. And then I think the next time he was thrown out was by Roberto Perez of the Indians at Kauffman Stadium.
Those are sort of the ones I remember.
Kane made a move to second, but not running. This is Alfredo Escalera batting for Paulo Orlando. And that's popped up. First baseman Schaefer wants it. And there are 2 down. Yeah, I looked it up. Roberto Perez, by the way, there's no shame if you're Terrence Gore getting thrown out by him. Roberto Perez threw out half the runners who tried to steal on him last year. And it was the first 2 times that Terrence had been thrown out at the major league level. There was one in the playoffs in Houston where Gore was thrown out only because he overslid third base.
That's
he
right.
Would have been safe, remember, but
Pop up
on review he popped up and was called out. Chesler Cuthbert is flied out to right and fouled out to first. Kane made a move to second, but he holds, and it's 0-2 on Cuthbert, who's the designated hitter today. One and 2. In the air again. Rodriguez is out. Maribel is in, and Maribel makes a play as Rodriguez lost his footing. Royals get a couple of base runners, but they're scoreless in the 6th, and we're still tied at 2. Pinch runner for Mike Moustakas stays in the game. He goes into center field, so Lorenzo Cain is done for the day. That's Garen Cecchini, who is at third. This is the second inning for Chris Young. Ronnie Rodriguez leads off. Billy Burns is now in left. He came on last half inning for Alex Gordon. That will stay foul to Ryan O'Hearn, who's the only starter still in there. In right field, Alfredo Escalera. Humberto Arteaga is at shortstop. Corey Toops is at second base. Oh, 0-2 on Ronnie Rodriguez. He is singled and lined out to right. One ball, two strikes. Talking to some folks with the Indians before today's game and asking them what are the concerns. Are there any holes on the roster? It seems like there aren't any. But what are the question marks going into the season? Young picks it up with his bare hand. Good throw over to O'Hearn. One down. We mentioned that Jason Kipnis, their regular second baseman, has been bothered by some soreness in his shoulder. Carlos Carrasco, whose season came to an end last year after being hit with a line drive, he's having some elbow soreness in spring training. So those are a couple of injury concerns, and then the pressure concern. Playing as well as they did last year with really not a full roster. I mean, some key guys were out, and they still got to Game 7 of the World Series. The same question mark that the Royals had 2 years ago, when everyone's pointing to you to win your division and get back to the postseason. How do you handle that?
Right, and that's a huge question mark because we saw the Royals respond obviously as well as any team could when they come back and win the World Series in 2015. But what I noticed last year was the emotional toll, not just a physical toll that playing in the postseason, playing to Game 7 of the World Series right to the very end. But we saw a lot of injuries, I think, that are essentially just fallout from that. Playing such a high intense level as long as you can possibly play. Now this year spring training camp even a little bit longer with regards to the World Baseball Classic. So the Indians on paper to me are definitely the team in the American League Central to beat.
That's to the gap, and coming over to cut it off is Escalera. So Connor Mirabal is on with one out. Well, getting to Game 7 with a chance to win at home and not winning really fueled the Royals the next year. They had no trouble with that pressure, winning 95 games, running away with the division. So you can assume that Cleveland's going to feel that way as well. Game 7 at home, losing in extra innings. To come that close and not get the job done, there's your inspiration.
No doubt about that. And to me, the pure fact that they were able to do it without the real mainstay of their team being that starting rotation with all the injuries they had, it's a testament to what they did as a team, and the bullpen carried them a long way. But they've got a lot of players who have been in Indians uniforms for a while. They have history there. They understand what is going to happen. They added Edwin Encarnacion. They bettered themselves. So they'll be a very interesting team to watch.
Runner starts and stops, and Drew Butera almost picked off Mirabal. It's always fun to visit with Tom Hamilton, the longtime radio voice of the Indians, and he's here today broadcasting the game. And that was a surprise to everybody in Cleveland that they were able to pick up Edwin Encarnacion. But he brought up the Indians signed Boone Logan in their bullpen. Quirky left-hander. Billy Burns makes the play in left field, 2 down. And I don't know how many headlines that created in Cleveland or in the baseball world that they go out and they sign Boone Logan, but getting a lefty who can get left-handers out, that just moves Andrew Miller back to later in the game. So he was talking as much about Boone Logan as he was Edwin Encarnacion. Two down to Todd Hankins, who was not in the original Indians lineup today. Tyler Naquin was supposed to lead off and play center field, but his knees are sore, so he was scratched. Hankins was placed in the lineup, and he's homered today, 2 out of 3.
Ryan, looking at their roster, Hankins coming over from the minor league camp, so he's going to leave surprised today with a big smile on his face, what he was able to accomplish, what he's able to do at the big league level, at least for today.
Up the left field line, and that's down. With 2 outs, Maribel was going on contact, so he'll go first to third, and the Indians have runners at the corners.
Third baseman number 39, Giovanni Urshela.
I think Chris Young made the pitch he wanted to make there, got it in on Hankins' hands, but he swing like Babe Ruth today, so he's a very tough out.
Chris came on last inning, worked around an error, and now has allowed 2 singles in the 7th inning. Here's Giovanni Urshela. Couple of ground outs, one of them a diving play at third by Moustakas, and he's also struck out. Slider for a strike, 1-1.
Slider will be a very key pitch for Chris Young. He needs to have that put away pitch, a pitch he can finish hitters off. That's one thing we didn't see effectively last year on a consistent basis.
It's bobbled it short by Arteaga, and no play. And for the Royals, their 3rd error of the game. And scoring from third is Maribel, and Cleveland leads 3-2.
Well, again, Chris Young makes a pitch he wants, gets a routine ground ball. Arteaga unable to come up with it cleanly as a result. Go ahead run.
Fouled away by Yandy Diaz. Out of Cuba. One of the best hitting prospects in the Indian system. Really doesn't have a position yet. He is the Indians' DH today. Cracked his bat. The right side was wide open. So he drives in a run. The Indians have scored 2 unearned runs in the 7th inning, and they lead 4-2. So the Royals were beaten by their own shift. Chris Young made a good pitch, broke the bat. But the Royals are really defending the left side of the infield.
It's very frustrating as a pitcher. Again, to make a quality pitch, 27 hopper to what normally would be your second baseman, results a RBI single.
This is Ulysses Cantu. Pinch hitting for Richie Schaefer. Runner from first goes, no throw. Diaz swipes second base. And with 2 outs, Chris Young at this point is not concerned about the base runners. He's trying to take care of the hitter. Just outside. Chris Young, no matter where he lands on this roster, is a pretty handy guy to have around. Royals can use him as a starter. They could use him as a long reliever. They could use him as a short reliever. He has struck out 2 in his 2 innings. The Indians scored 2 unearned runs against him. It is stretch time and surprise. Cleveland leads 4-2. Seventh inning stretch in surprise on a hot sunny day. Cleveland leads 4-2. As part of our first home weekend series, the first 20,000 fans through the gates against the Angels will receive a reusable Royals tote bag presented by MLB Network. That's Saturday, April 15th. For tickets, go to Royals.com. Visit an area Price Chopper location or call 1-800-6-ROYALS. You can snag this handy giveaway item. Steve Delabar. Royals have seen him with the Seattle Mariners. Spent last year at AAA Louisville. Also 7 games with the Reds. And Corey Toops will lead off. First at bat for Corey Toops, who entered the game defensively at second base in the 6th inning. He lost the bat and ended up with a base hit.
He lost the bat but won the race.
Never seen that before. Base hit, no bad stance. Just tragic.
Bat went in the crowd to the left, the ball in the air to the right.
I know you're feeling sexy.
And now bunted foul up the right field side. Arteaga at the plate. Humberto Arteaga. And he'd like to atone for the 2-out error he committed in the last half inning that led to 2 Indians unearned runs. Well, you're more prepared to get a foul ball when you're sitting in the crowd behind the dugout, not a bat. One and two on Arteaga. Still breathing kind of heavy. That'll take your breath away when you're sitting in the first or second row. And here comes a bat spiraling its way into your lap.
And now the message is that she's made television. She looks good in her spring training ball cap, yes.
Two and two on Arteaga. Out of Venezuela. Split last year between Class A Wilmington and AA Northwest Arkansas. Good speed. Stole 15 bases. That is a foul ball.
Had a good opportunity to visit with George Brett during the batting practice earlier today, and he's been here during the entire camp, seen a lot of young players, and very, very impressed with a lot of the lower level minor league players, a lot of the talent, a lot of the guys that you're not probably going to see in the big leagues for a few years, but very impressed with the pool of minor league talent coming down the pike.
And that's good to hear, because I think the perception is that the Royals farm system is a bit thin because of some of the moves they made the past couple years to get to the World Series and win the World Series, which is an easy price to pay. I mean, any team would do it. I mean, if you're gonna, you'd trade just about anything to win a World Series. But the Royals are known for growing their own, and like you, I've heard from guys like George and other of the alumni, instructors, members of the coaching staff, how pleasantly surprised they have been with the talent they've seen in spring training so far. Arteaga strikes out. He is not able to advance Toops, and there's one down.
And to expand on that a little bit, just looking at some of the guys who we've seen come to the major leagues over the last couple of years, the Whit Merrifields and the Chesler Cuthberts and some of those type players who you didn't hear a whole lot about in the minor leagues. They weren't Baseball America top 10 prospects, but they came up and they did a very nice job. So again, a testament to the development going on in the system.
Ryan O'Hearn is 0 for 2 with a run scored. That'll be out of play. It's one of the many benefits of winning, I feel like, Monty, is that when you're winning at this level, players that are supposed to be in the minor leagues can remain in the minor leagues. When you are not winning at this level, then players who should be in AAA are in the big leagues. Players who should be in AA are in AAA. And yes, the Royals have drafted better in their winning years, but they were drafting good players in the losing years as well. But a player can be buried mentally if they get to the big leagues sooner than they're ready and they fail at this level.
Right, it's such a fine line between developing players. There's a nice hit. Right field side. You see a nice play at third base here. No. But it's great to see the way that the organization has made the commitment to the minor leagues to get to the success level they've had the last 4 or 5 years in the major leagues. But it's a process. And I remember when Dayton Moore took over as the general manager, there was a commitment to the minor leagues, and certainly has paid off, and then it allows you to continue to develop players and invest in that minor league system and keep that pipeline filled with good players.
I mean, think about when was the last time, and I'm sure there's somebody I'm missing, but think about in the last 3 years that the Royals have called somebody up from the minor leagues and that player looked overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're right.
Just did not look like he was ready to compete at the big league level.
Yeah, and I was talking about the fine line between getting a guy to the major leagues too soon. I'd rather be a day, a week, or a month, or a year too late on getting, instead of rushing him, having him a day too early.
I mean, just last year alone, Matt Strom, he was ready. Whit Merrifield, he was ready. Brett Eibner, for crying out loud, in his second big league game, had a walk-off hit, even though he wasn't with the Royals for very long. But I mean, they were ready to contribute.
Well, the word I think describes that best is the culture which has been created in this organization with regards to the expectations and what you have to do if you want to wear that uniform. You have to do a number of things exactly the right way in order to have that opportunity.
1-2 on Drew Butera. Second strikeout for Delabar, 2 down.
The fielder, number 14, Billy Burns.
And that brings up Billy Burns for the first time today. Toops is the runner at third. He opened the inning with an infield single, and O'Hearn is at first. 2 singles and 2 strikeouts for the Royals in the 7th inning. 2-0 on Burns. And now 2-1.
Had a nice sample of Billy Burns' speed last year. I think this year he's going to have more of a focus on keeping the ball on the ground, hit the ball on the ground, allow that speed to play, because especially in situations like this, a lot of things you can do if you hit the ball on the ground.
Three and 2. And pitchers will probably try and do that to Billy Burns. Try and get him to chase pitches up in the strike zone, force him to hit the ball in the air. Full count, 2 down. Toops at third, O'Hearn's at first. O'Hearn will take off on this next pitch.
Well, talking about a player who really made advancements, who's no longer with the Royals, Gerard Dyson, he really learned how to use that speed, hit the ball on the ground, take advantage of that speed, and he became a very, very solid major league player as a result of it, understanding what his assets and his tools and his strengths are.
And we'll do it again. Well, Billy Burns 2 years ago had a breakout season with the Oakland A's. Took advantage of an opportunity by way of injury. Coco Crisp was injured. So that gave Billy Burns a lot of playing time. And now he takes a walk. But last year, Billy Burns was in the minor leagues when the Royals acquired him from the A's for Brett Eibner. So they're loaded up. And Terrence Gore coming to the plate, and he fits into that same category. Fastball inside corner for strike 1. Down, no balls, 2 strikes. Fastball slider from Delabar. That ball is going to stay fair, and the Royals get a run. The old swinging bunt and placed perfectly inside the third base line. So Toop scores, Gore gets an RBI, and they're still loaded up.
Line drive into the box score. I think on this one, Delabar's got to just maybe give this one a chance. He knew it wasn't going to go foul. No chance of throwing out the speedy Gore.
And now Garin Cecchini. He bats for the first time. And he has O'Hearn at third base. Burns at second. And Gore at first. 2 of the fastest guys in the league are on base for the Royals. No balls, 2 strikes. Garin Cecchini has spent a little bit of time in the big leagues in both 2014 and 2015 with the Red Sox. He spent last year at AAA with the Brewers at Colorado Springs. Down on 3 pitches, so Delabar gives up the 1 run on the infield single by Terrence Gore. And at the end of 7, Cleveland's lead is 4-3. Trademark of theirs to score a run in the 7th inning, avoiding a strikeout. Terrence Gore putting the ball in play with 2 strikes, and with speed on the bases, push a run across against Steve Delabar. So it's 4-3, Cleveland leading. And Chris Young begins his 3rd inning out of the Royals bullpen. Gave up 2 unearned runs in the 7th. Bradley Zimmer at the plate. He has walked, stolen a base, otherwise 0 for 2. Chris Young followed Travis Wood, who gave up 2 runs in 5 innings. One ball, 2 strikes.
Right, when you're looking at this Royals pitching staff and the way things are going to all kind of shake out at the end, I think guys like Chris Young and Travis Wood, who we've seen here today, obviously competing for that slot in the rotation, but it's going to be a pretty interesting mix of arms in that bullpen, because obviously need to do some work to get that bullpen back to where it needs to be. But a lot of lefties in competition. So I know Ned Yost doesn't want to have a whole bullpen full of left-handed pitchers down there.
There was a time when the Royals got by mostly with just right-hand pitchers out of the bullpen because the ability was such that, you know, guys like Luke Hochevar and Kelvin Herrera, Wade Davis, Greg Holland, they could get lefties out, sometimes even better than they got righties out.
Yeah.
Might be some more mixing and matching this year for Ned. Maybe not necessarily handing an inning over to one single guy every game, but making multiple moves in an inning. Brian Pena has taken over at first base. And according to baseball law, when you are inserted into a game in a position other than your natural position, the ball immediately finds you.
That's the rule. But BP handled it very nicely. You know, back to the bullpen for a sec, and you know, Kelvin Herrera now bumps up in that slot. We know who's going to pitch the ninth, but the 7th and 8th inning could be very interesting on who's going to be those guys. I think Matt Strahm did a lot for himself last year. The way he competed, the job he did. And he's effective against right-handers and left-handers. And I think the fact that he's really kind of worked on maybe tightening up his slider a little bit more effective against righties and lefties, even without having to go to that fastball all the time.
Another shot for Arteaga. He committed the error last inning that led to the unearned runs. Fields that one cleanly, and there are 2 down in the 8th inning. MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is back and better than ever. You can watch every out-of-market regular season game, spring training games, and the World Baseball Classic all live. Enjoy the best picture quality ever and connected device enhancements. MLB.TV for details. Ronnie Rodriguez with 2 down in the 8th inning. Ned Yost told us that Travis Wood was going to throw about 70 pitches. Chris Young the same. Wood was just under 70 pitches and got the Royals 5, and now this will be the 50th pitch thrown by Chris Young. And that's going to float into right center field, a base hit for Ronnie Rodriguez.
Right fielder number 6, Connor Merriman.
So a runner at first with 2 down for Connor Maribel. 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored.
Chris Young would love to get out of this inning with one more pitch, give himself an opportunity to go out for that 4th inning.
Runner goes, and it's fouled away.
Get back to that bullpen, Ryan. One guy that we've not talked about today who's had a really nice camp is Scott Alexander, another lefty in that mix of how will things shake out in that bullpen.
One and 2. Last year I asked Dave Island, I said, who are 3 guys in camp that we're probably not talking enough about that have really impressed you? And Scott Alexander, along with Matt Strahm, were among the names that he brought up. And Matt Strahm obviously had an impressive season in the big leagues. Scott Alexander was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes last year and he had a good camp, but all of a sudden was losing velocity. He was losing weight. There was no explanation for it, and this went on for a while. And then discovering that there was really nothing he could do until he started dealing with diabetes. And now, yeah, you talk to Dave Island, you talk to Ned Yost, and you ask the same question you asked last year: who's somebody who's really stood out that maybe we're not talking about enough? And it's Scott Alexander. Rodriguez swipes second base. And now a full count on Maribel. Maribel walks, so the Indians get a pair of runners with 2 down. And now Luke Wakamatsu.
See Drew Butera looking over to Don Wakamatsu, wanting a scouting report on this kid. Where do we play him? What do we do?
Switch hitting infielder, playing at shortstop. I have heard that if this was a regular season game, that they leave the fathers out of these meetings. Buddy Bell, when he was Royals manager, would manage against his son David Bell. They would leave him out of those conversations. Good throw and a good one-hop stop by Arteaga at second base, but Rodriguez is back in time. Jason Kendall played for the Royals. His father, Fred Kendall, was a longtime big league coach, and whatever team Fred was coaching for, if they faced Jason's team, they would leave him out of those conversations. Two and one. I'm sure it was the same with Sal Butera, who is with the Toronto Blue Jays organization, part of their scouting and coaching staff. And the Royals facing the Blue Jays in the ALCS a couple years ago. I would imagine John Gibbons didn't go to Sal Butera and say, how do we get your son out if he comes to the plate?
Well, you sure don't want to go to his mother and ask her. You know exactly what that answer is going to be.
Drew had a great line about that too. We asked Drew, or maybe it was Sal. It was Sal last year for the father-son trip in Baltimore, and we asked Sal. Sal obviously, he had a World Series ring with Minnesota, but he wants his team to win. Drew wants to go to the World Series again. So who was mom rooting for? And the answer was it didn't matter, because either way she was going to the World Series. Wakamatsu strikes out to end the top of the 8th inning. The Indians strand 2 to the bottom of the 8th. Royals are down by 1. 4-3 Indians to the bottom of the 8th in Surprise, Arizona. Today's copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Kansas City Royals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Kansas City Royals Baseball Club. Ryan Lefevre, Jeff Montgomery, with director Steve Kurtenbach, producer Gavin Bodell. We are on the air again the day after tomorrow and facing the other Ohio team that plays in nearby Goodyear, the Cincinnati Reds. And it will be good to broadcast with former Reds great Jeff Montgomery for that game. James Russell pitches the bottom of the 8th.
I would rather be referred to as a longtime Royal.
Royals Hall of Famer and former Reds great Jeff Montgomery. 3 o'clock Kansas City time on Monday. Good swing. Alfredo Escalera lines out to right field. That was Escalera's second at bat. He's 0 for 2. Russell is the 6th Indians pitcher today. And now he'll pitch to Cheslor Cuthbert. One to Chess. 0 for 3, 2 flyouts to right field and a foul out to first. Out in front, deep, but foul. Some of the fans, probably many of which have just arrived from the Midwest, a couple of hours in this hot Arizona sun, figured it's time to go back to that air-conditioned hotel room.
Well, especially if they forgot the sunscreen today.
That gal right there in the green shirt, walking away with some bright red shoulders. Not Indians fans, they're in the shade.
If you're a baseball fan, that doesn't get much better than that.
Good stop by Maribel in right field. He got in that danger zone of having that ball skip by him. Cuthbert is on with 1 out.
Yeah, Cheslor, again, hitting the ball where it's pitched. Nice job going the other way.
Ten hits for the Royals. And up comes Corey Toops. He singled leading off the 7th inning. Lost his bat in the process. His bat went flying into the seats behind the third base dugout. And he hit a little bloop to the right side of the infield that dropped for a hit. Talking about the competition at second base. If this competition was a couple of years down the road, Corey Toops might be in the middle of that. Played last year at Class A Wilmington, Double A Northwest Arkansas, had a good year. He's not real big. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, but he had 12 home runs. He stole 22 bases and had 35 doubles.
He got very hot at the right time last year for Northwest Arkansas during the postseason. Seemed like he was doing something every night.
This was his base hit leading off the 7th inning. So taking literally when a hitting coach says, hey, throw that bad head at the ball. Down on strikes against Russell, and that's 2 down. Royals got Corey Toops out of Sam Houston State University, where he played with Ryan O'Hearn. And now both in the Royals farm system, both playing in the game today. Ryan O'Hearn was 1 for 3 with a run scored. Here's Humberto Arteaga. Good pitch over the outside from Russell. And nice play up against the screen. Eric Haase going up against the screen, and that puts an end to the Royals' bottom of the 8th inning. When you leave your kids in the Arizona sun too long, they begin to try successfully for this guy uphill somersaults.
Too easy downhill.
Yeah, he looks like he's about 3 hours past his nap time. Travis Wood went the first 5, gave up 2 runs, a couple of solo home runs. He struck out 4. Chris Young has gone 3. He's allowed 2 unearned runs. So Ned Yost has a chance to only use 2 pitchers today. 2 guys competing for that 5th spot in the Royals starting rotation. Nate Carnes pitched yesterday. Had a rough start to his outing. Gave up 3 runs in the first inning. Nate Carnes did, and then finished strong.
Yeah,
this
really.
Is Jordan Smith. Sorry, Monty.
That's all right. It's really difficult to gauge an outing such as Chris Young and Travis Wood, just especially looking at the lineup they're facing today. And I remember a lot of times, say when you're established or you're going to be on the team, and it's a numbers game, and they send you to the minor league camp, in other words, to get some work, just get your work in. And oftentimes that's when you get a lot of work in, because you're backing up bases. You're not pitching, to the quality of hitters, and it sounds backwards to say it, but sometimes it's easier to pitch against major league hitters that you have a feel for, and they have a plan, than when you're playing against pitching against a lot of guys from the minor league camp or non-roster guys, for example.
Well, that's part of the cerebral part of pitching, isn't it? I mean, okay, here's this hitter. You know his strengths and his weaknesses, right? And you're trying to execute your pitches. I would imagine Travis Wood and Chris Young perhaps knew none of these guys by name.
Well, and that's the difficult part. If they were fireballers that could throw in the mid to upper 90s, it's a different story. You can get by on stuff, but when you're a pitcher, when you're a true pitcher, you have to have the ability to set hitters up and make quality pitches and see how they react to some of the pitches you throw. How do they foul the ball off and make the adjustments accordingly on the fly? And that's why Chris Young and Travis Wood have been around for a long time. Their ability to do that, but it's difficult to do it against a lineup that you don't have a good feel for what they're all about.
This is Sam Haggerty. Smith runs, and it's fouled away. The Indians, not these Indians, but the big league Indians, led the league last year in stolen bases. Royals finished second to Cleveland in that department. And this is a team that has really given the Royals a bad time. Into left field, up the line. Great diving attempt by Billy Burns, but it drops foul. I'm not sure Billy realized it was foul right away, so he did the right thing. He continued to play it. But anyway, last year, the Indians were 14-5 against the Royals. And Cleveland has won 11 of the last 13 season series with the Royals.
Come on.
Jammed. Brian Pena wants it, and now Toops comes over from second base, one away. Last year, I remember people asking all the time, you think Royals can do it again, and who's going to get in the Royals' way? And I always felt like Cleveland was going to be a problem. They're a talented team, first of all. I mean, you're not going out on a limb saying Cleveland could give the Royals trouble, but I thought one of the factors was that even though the Royals had been to back-to-back World Series and Cleveland had struggled, Cleveland played well against the Royals. They did not appear to be a team that was intimidated or out of sorts when they played the Royals like most of the other American League teams.
Right. And I think the other thing that the Indians did so well last year is they got out of the gate very quickly. They had a good April, good May, which is very unusual for the Cleveland Indians. Normally they struggle early in the year. They're playing catch up during the second half of the season, oftentimes make a run for that pennant or for that wild card. And last year they didn't have to do that. They played good early in the season.
They played good early and played great late. But you're right, they've had some really bad Aprils where they're just buried and they're digging themselves out of a hole the rest of the year. Last year at the end of May, Cleveland was 2 games above 500, and in third place the Royals were in first place. But they had the best record in the American League from the end of May on. They were 25 games above 500 and finished with 94 wins. Back to Chris Young. Low throw. Arteaga helps him out and finishes off a 1-6-3 inning-ending double play.
Maybe not the way that Chris Young had drawn this one up, but certainly a really nice play to finish off this ninth inning.
3 Indians to the bottom of the 9th inning, and we'll see what Ned Yost goes with. Maybe a chance to get some pinch hitters in there in the last inning down by 1. We can tell you that this is Pat McCoy pitching for Cleveland. He is their 7th pitcher today. Royals have RBIs today from Cologne, Gordon, and Gore. 3 runs, 10 hits against Cleveland pitching so far. Brian Pena will lead off the bottom of the 9th inning. Back with the Royals as a non-roster invitee. Had a lot of knee trouble last year with the Cardinals. Had surgery on his knee. And it was an injury which happened in spring training. He slipped in the dugout during camp, injured his left knee, had surgery, and the knee was still bothering him in July. And to right field, and Maribel is there to make the catch, and there's one down, and that's going to bring up Peter O'Brien, has really caught the Royals' attention in spring training. They were excited to see him anyway. At least O'Brien was on his way to the plate. Here he comes. After getting him in a trade with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he has 5 spring training home runs and has tremendous power to the opposite field. I mean, I'm hearing Dale Swaim, Mike Sweeney, who's here as a guest instructor, saying they have never, and these are guys who've been around a long time, ever seen opposite field power like Peter O'Brien. He hits home runs to right field, they say, like a left-handed pull hitter would hit him to right field.
Very impressive. There we go.
It's going to carry, and there it is. He's hit another one into the opposite field. 6 home runs for Peter O'Brien to lead the Cactus League.
Tell you one thing on his mind: get a pitch away and drive it away, and he did it.
Have you heard the story about his mother?
I have not.
Billy Burns. That's into deep right center field. Caught by Maribel. 2 down in the 9th inning. Well, Peter O'Brien will talk about his father and his uncle really inspiring him. They played baseball, but he also uses his mother for inspiration. His mom is from Cuba, and in the early 80s there was a lottery system where you could legally leave Cuba, and the family left Cuba to Costa Rica, but they would not allow his mom to leave because she was a prima ballerina in the Cuban National Ballet. Here's Terrence Gore with 2 outs. And so they found out if she could go to a doctor that would say she no longer can perform, she could leave with the family. Well, no doctor would allow her. They would not sign any kind of a waiver to allow her to leave. So she was stuck in Cuba. That is under the glove of the third baseman Haggerty. And now Gore is at first base. He's going to have to hustle to get back, and he does. So that'll be an error on the third baseman Haggerty, and the potential winning run at first base with 2 down. So anyway, just to finish the story, Monty, Peter O'Brien's mom, in a desperate effort to leave Cuba and join the family in Costa Rica, went home and broke her own ankle with a hammer.
Ouch.
Went back to the doctor. They took an x-ray. There was the fracture. She was allowed to leave. Joined the family in Costa Rica. They eventually went to the United States. It took 4 years for her ankle to heal. And eventually, in the United States, danced professionally again.
What a story.
Delayed steal, and Terrence Gore steals a base against the Indians. The streak is over. And now Ciccanini will try and drive him in and see if the Royals can walk off here in the 9th inning against the Indians. Down on strikes, and the throw to first is in time to complete the strikeout. And we'll wait and see if we will go extra innings today. The Royals do have activity in the bullpen. And so it looks like we will play at least 10. Will the bullpen gate open? Yes, it will. Peter O'Brien ties the game in the bottom of the 9th with his 6th spring training home run. Ties the game in the 9th inning with a home run, and now he's behind the plate. And Peter Moylan will take over on the mound. Monty, this is significant. Here are Moylan's impressive numbers with the Royals last year. This is significant because Peter O'Brien, out of the University of Miami, was taken in the 2nd round by the Yankees as a catcher, but he did not remain a catcher for very long. They turned him into an infielder, a little bit of the outfield, and he was traded to the Diamondbacks for Martin Prado, a good player. And the Diamondbacks didn't use him as a catcher. And sometimes you can gain that reputation of a former catcher, converted to position player, almost as if you're reading between the lines, he's not good enough to be a catcher. And I don't remember much discussion with the Royals about putting him behind the plate, but they have in spring training. And I've heard several people comment, and remember, this is a team that relies on Salvador Perez and Drew Butera, 2 very good defensive catchers. Several members of the Royals coaching staff have been impressed with what they've seen with Peter O'Brien and the gear on.
Well, not only when you have the ability to catch, you're not an emergency catcher, you're not a third catcher, you have the ability to go out and do things. If you can wear a glove in the outfield, wear a glove in the infield, and a glove behind the plate, it certainly increases your value. And when you can hit the ball with power out of the ballpark opposite field, not a lot of guys can do that and wear all of those gloves, so that does certainly increase your value and your worth to a club.
Arteaga wants it at short, and that'll take a Ulysses Cantu. And sometimes when a hitter is advanced, like Peter O'Brien and an organization is trying to get him to the big leagues as quickly as possible. They're just trying to find a position where he can fit in with the big league club, and therefore maybe they abandon a position quicker than if he was more on a slower track.
Right.
But he's athletic, he's big and strong, he's got a strong arm, and the Royals are intrigued by his work behind the plate.
He essentially could pull a reverse Mike Sweeney.
That's foul.
Michael obviously becoming one of the best right-handed hitters in Royals history, but for some reason there was to me, a myth or maybe a discussion that he couldn't do a good job behind the plate. I love throwing to Mike Sweeney.
Really?
I really did. I like the way he called a game, and I think he called the game a lot like a hitter. And as somebody who didn't overpower, I needed somebody who could help me through those situations. So I had no problem with Mike Sweeney behind the plate. But it worked out all right for him.
Yes, it did. Thanks to Jeff King's abrupt retirement in 1999, all of a sudden first base was wide open with no other first baseman on the roster. Two and two on Gabriel Mejia. Peter Moylan was a late addition to the Royals roster. Free agent after last year, on the market for a long time, and signed a minor league deal, and the Royals were thrilled to have him back in camp. A little half swing, and that will drop in between Arteaga and Burns. And Mejia is on with one out in the 10th.
Well, you were telling the story about O'Brien. You and I had a chance to hear Peter Moylan tell his story last year. So you put that combination
Those two
together, and that might be as interesting of two stories as you could put together.
Yeah, Peter Moylan was in the Minnesota Twins organization a long time ago. As in 20, 21, 22 years ago. Pitch is low, and a stolen base for Mejia. So the go-ahead runs at second base with one out. Peter Moylan was more of a traditional overhand right-hand pitcher in the Twins organization, but he had back problems, and so he was released by the Twins. He went back to Australia and got into all kinds of jobs. I mean, it would take all day for him to name all the different jobs he tried, but eventually got into the pharmaceutical business. Good slider for a strike, 1 ball, 1 strike, but he still loved playing baseball, so he played first base and designated hitter once or twice a week on a local town team, of which he also managed. And he didn't pitch because of those back problems. That's going to go foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So finally, one day, Moylan's team ran out of pitching. So he was warming up, and he discovered that if he threw sidearm or kind of submarine style, that it really didn't put much pressure on his back. Well, all of a sudden, the catcher is saying to him, "How hard were you throwing?" You know, he had no idea. He'd never pitched like that before. So he continued to pitch here and there for his town team, and finally there was a scout. And how many times does this happen? A scout is there to watch somebody else, and he had the radar gun out, and here's Peter Moylan throwing sidearm, and there he is with a slider, and there are 2 down in the 9th inning. And the scout was looking for players, and this is timely, to pitch for Australia for the World Baseball Classic. And all of a sudden, Peter Moylan is throwing 94 to 96 miles an hour sidearm. So they signed him up for the WBC, and they trained in Orlando, which is the spring training home of the Atlanta Braves. And what was supposed to be a 2 or 3 week trip to the United States to pitch in the WBC, J.J. Piccolo and Dayton Moore were in the Braves organization at the time. They saw Peter Moylan, signed him on the spot. And not only did the Braves sign him, but he got to the big leagues after beginning the year pitching for a town team only because he had run out of pitchers.
That's amazing.
That sounds like a Disney movie, doesn't it?
It sure does. And every player has a very interesting story, but I don't know how many can top that one.
So when I was talking about that story with Peter, I said, well, what did you do when you went back? Well, I helped build pools. I helped repair air conditioners. I was a prescription drug salesman. I mean, just went on and on. Baseball was over in his mind, and now he's had a nice, long, big league career. And he's pitched a scoreless top of the 10th inning. Royals will have Escalera, Cuthbert, and Toops coming up in the bottom of the 10th. Well, Monty was just saying in between innings that Dominic DeMasi was told, if we need 8 pitchers today, you're going to be the guy. Well, the Indians have needed 8 pitchers today. Here we are at the bottom of the 10th inning. Dominic DeMasi in a 4-4 tie. The Royals tied it in the bottom of the 9th on Peter O'Brien's 6th spring training home run. And the Royals will have Alfredo Escalera, Chesler Cuthbert, Corey Toops coming up here in the 10th inning.
Right, it reminds me of some days early in my career. If you're a player who's not on a big league roster, you're a non-roster invitee to camp, and you're a pitcher, you're not going to get a lot of work. And oftentimes they'll take pitchers along just for exactly this reason, so that you have enough pitchers. And they would always list the starting pitcher and who's going to follow him. The guys they know for sure are going to pitch in the game. And oh, that one didn't feel too good.
Ouch.
But they list everybody. Then they'll list all the guys at the bottom who are not going to pitch. They call them just in case. They put JIC next to their name. So I remember being one of the Jick brothers because you're just in case. A lot of trips, a lot of road trips, and you don't get any action.
That doesn't matter. You're going to go yard.
Luke Wakamatsu, the son of Royals bench coach Don Wakamatsu, throws out Escalera. And there's one down. I don't remember who the manager was. Maybe Whitey Herzog, I don't know, but Denny used to tell the story about a game that would get long like this, and they would throw a pitcher out there and say, now go on out there and get this game over with, meaning give up a run. Chesler Cuthbert is 1 for 4 as the Royals DH today. He's singled in the 8th inning. Chance for Wakamatsu. 2 down. There is nobody warming up in the Royals bullpen. There is nobody, period, in the Indians bullpen. So I don't know if I've seen a spring training game go past 10 innings. Well, we'll see.
Well, the Indians had Demasi left, and the Royals wanted to see Moylan get an inning, so it worked out fine.
On the ground to Haggerty, and that's the inning, and we'll see what happens here.
That's it. You just waved.
And that's it. Who says there are no ties in baseball? It is the first tie for the Royals this spring. It is the second tie for the Indians. So 4-4. Travis Wood, Chris Young, Peter Moylan for the Royals. So our final score, Royals 4, Indians 4. Don't forget our next broadcast is Monday. The Royals host the Reds. Coverage begins at 3 o'clock. For Jeff Montgomery, this is Ryan Lefevre. Thanks for watching. Royals and Reds coming up Monday afternoon right here on Fox Sports Kansas City.